Hey, did you hear what I did the other day? Yeah, cool story, bro. Have you ever felt like that when you talk to someone? How the heck do we handle it? We're gonna talk about that and more. Stay tuned.
I'm the CEO, it's Mega Chop, you already know.
Hey guys, if you want to talk to me directly about the topic that we're about to dive into, I am live Monday, Wednesday, and Friday on twitch.tv/MegaChopCEO. Stop by and we'll talk some more. For right now, we're gonna jump into being present or engaged and what to do if someone else is not engaged with you. We've discussed the difference between present and engaged and the importance of being engaged. And we talked about what can we do to become more engaged in our interactions. If you missed either of those videos, I've got the links down below. Feel free, hop back, check out the present or engaged, then dive into what can we do. And lastly, we're gonna talk about what if somebody else is not engaged with you. That's what we're diving into today. So those videos would be very beneficial, catching them before you hop into this one. So now we're covering the topic that you've all been waiting for. Those dirty people not engaging you when you're trying to tell them something important, right? I mean, come on, how can they ever wait? Oh, we covered that we do it too in the last video. Dang it. Okay, so we should probably cut them a break. We're all in this together. We're all working on getting better engaged with one another, treating each other the way that we should. So let's work together and make sure that we work those kinks out. So have you ever talked to somebody and got a lot of okay, sure, and didn't get much more back than that? Yeah, so have I. It's frustrating, right? And wait, now you're thinking to yourself, wait a minute, Chop, you said I'm the only one that I could control, so I shouldn't worry about other people. Yes, I did say that. You're correct. That was then, because we had to start with ourselves, but now we can take a look at some methods, some tactics that we can use to approach those around us, whether it be coworkers or loved ones, friends, family, anybody we can use these tactics with. I'm gonna go through different ways to approach different people. That way you have an opportunity to talk to them in different ways depending on who your audience is. Before we dive into those ways, we're gonna have a little refresher again on what it looks like for someone to not be fully engaged. That way we can make sure that this is fresh in our mind as we go through this information. So what does it look like when someone's engaged? They typically lean into us. They definitely make consistent eye contact. They ask additional questions. They really try and find out as much as they can about whatever you're talking about. And typically you'll see more animated expressions, whether that's excitement or happiness or maybe a concentrated face or even concerned, empathy, understanding. Different emotions will be shown depending on whatever you're talking about, right? And this can vary from person to person. Some people are more animated in facial expressions like myself. Some people are more animated with hand gestures. Other people are more reserved in that fashion. Some will just stare at you intently. Some will have 100% blank face, no expressions, and they're fully engaged with you. We have to be careful to not just blanket these across everybody. It will look different depending on who you're interacting with, which is the beauty of each of our uniqueness, right? Okay, so in this first application, we are going to be talking about really approaching anybody. This could be an acquaintance. This could be somebody that we know better. This is just one tactic that we can use. I would say that if we don't know somebody really well, this is definitely the one to use for them. For somebody that you know better, it's going to be a judgment call from that standpoint. Either way, whoever we're applying this to, it's going to be obvious to us that they're either distracted with something inside mentally that they're wrestling with, or it could be something externally that's causing the distraction for them. Either way, personally, I'm not interested in interacting with somebody if they're not really invested, if they're not really engaged in the interaction in the moment. That may sound a little bit harsh without additional explanation, but I'm going to try and paint a picture for you. So say you interact with someone who is clearly not interested at all in anything that you have to say right now. Okay, So let's picture that. You're telling them something that you're super excited about, and they're sitting back like, they're nodding their head, they're okay. Sometimes people even do one of these things, like, would you hurry it up already? It doesn't feel good when that happens. At least for myself, it doesn't. And it makes me wonder, man, did I do something wrong? Did I offend them? Did they just not want to be around me? Is it something I did, I said? That's not a healthy thought path to go on either, which I think we're probably going to touch on a later series, but we're not there yet. So let's focus right now. Sometimes makes you feel a little bit self-conscious about what's going on, what am I doing, what is it about me, right? When you walk away from that interaction. Now, think of it from their standpoint. If they're like, all right, come on, get to the point. Why are they having us get to the point? If we put ourselves in their shoes, maybe they have a sick child at home and they've really got to get out of work then to get home and care for them. Maybe they have a sick parent. Maybe they're just super excited to get home and play the latest expansion for the video game that they like. Good reasons, bad reasons, in between, whatever. There is a reason causing them to do it. So if you're ever in that scenario, that situation where you're like, oh, I really need to go, how does it feel if you feel like there's somebody in front of you and all they want to do is tell you about something that they care about deeply that you don't really care about in that moment? It's frustrating. And they're wanting to go, you're wanting to stay and engage. Either way, it doesn't feel good to you, it doesn't feel good to them. What's the value in investing into that conversation? There's a value in identifying that and trying to understand where they're at, saying, hey, is everything okay? It seems like something might be on your mind. And if it's an acquaintance, we're not really going to dig in too deeply other than that. And if they say, you know what, I apologize. I don't mean to seem distracted, but my daughter or my son, they're home, they're sick. I'm really anxious to get home and see them. Whether we identify with that by having kids or not, we can all understand the yearning of someone to get home to a sick loved one and make sure that they're okay. So that's something that we can cut them some slack. Maybe we come back to that conversation with them later. Maybe we have that conversation with somebody else, but we gave them the opportunity to come forward and tell us what was it that was distracting them, and they can move on. Now, if they're like, no, I'm good, I don't know what you're talking about, that would be the point in the conversation where I would wrap it up, because maybe they're just not comfortable talking about whatever it is on their mind. And by wrapping up that conversation, I'm not investing more of me into that situation. They're not being held up by me. They're able to continue on whatever it is they're distracted with at that point. And that's what I mean by the difference with an acquaintance. We don't really want to dig in too far and push it past the comfort level of the relationship where we're at. The other route that I talked about earlier that we would take with loved ones, friends, someone that we know better, is a much more direct route. I personally am a huge fan of this, and I will even use this personally from my standpoint with people who are in between the acquaintance friend relationship point. But empathy is one of my big strengths, so I'm usually able to come across in a way that doesn't seem like I'm trying to pry or being offensive. I genuinely seem like I care. Everybody comes across differently, so you're going to have to know your strengths and how you come across on whether this would or wouldn't work in different situations. But if I'm interacting with a loved one and they're clearly distracted, I will come straight out and I will say, hey, Stacy, it seems like there's something on your mind and you're not really present here in our discussion. What's weighing on you? What's bothering you? There's a lot of different ways that we can word it, but it's a cut to the chase type of a thing, not just saying, hey, is everything okay? Leaving it open-ended. It's a little bit more pointed, saying, hey, I see something must be on your mind, something must be bothering you. What's going on? Giving them a really wide open door to be able to go into whatever is bothering them. Now, if you've never asked this question to someone before, a friend or family member, it might catch them off guard a little bit, but that's okay. Very likely they will be willing to answer that question. And if it's something like, hey, the latest expansion to the video game came came out. That can be important to them. That's fair. Is it fair that they're neglecting something super important to you? Well, whether it is or isn't, the important part is to not respond in a shaming manner towards them. Talk it through with them and be like, hey, can I have your focus for 2 minutes, for 5 minutes, so that I can share this exciting thing with them? That gives them an expectation that you're not going to go on and on for the next 5 hours about something when they have something else that's right there on the verge of taking all their attention away from you. And be respectful. Maybe it's not the most important to you, but it's clearly important to them. So give them that time, give them a clear expectation, stick to that expectation, 2 minutes, 5 minutes, whatever that may be, half an hour, and communicate what you need to communicate, and then let them be able to move on with that next step. Now, if it really is not that important, very likely they will be like, oh gosh, oh, it's nothing, and they'll put it to side. They may even tell you what it is, but again, don't shame them for it. Otherwise, they're going to be a lot less likely to come forward and be honest with you in the future in a scenario like this. Now, we clearly have other options, other directions that we could go in these scenarios. These are some of the healthier routes or healthiest routes to go. There are some much less healthy ways to go, just simply walking away from them, the silent treatment, little pointed jabs at them. It's not going to help you. It's not going to help them. It's ultimately just going to hurt the relationship. And by opening it up, keeping it on an open communication platform, it could give them an opportunity to truly open up their heart to you about something that's really weighing on them. And in the end, having these clear communications between one another always build your relationship stronger, so that if there is something that is a ripple or a negative impact to your relationship, these will be the interactions that help weave it together and grow stronger, so that if one of those links comes apart somewhere, it's much more easy to rebuild it than if you don't really have a whole lot there. So in summary, this is all going to come back around to communication, asking questions. And if you can truly make it to that point where you genuinely care and you can put yourself aside saying, okay, this is super important to me right now, but maybe they have a need that's important enough that I set this aside and we focus on that. In asking those questions to give them an opening, a door, an opportunity for relief. Let me know if you guys have different ways that you get people around you to engage better with you in the comments down below. And I would love if you stop by Monday, Wednesday, or Friday when I am live on twitch.tv/megachopceo to talk about your thoughts immediately with you and dialogue back and forth. In the meantime, make sure you click like, subscribe, and smash that bell for notifications, and I'll see you next time.